Hi folks, it's Chef Beny. Welcome to the Spring Fishing and Boat Show 2021 virtual Beny seminar. I wish I could be there in person to cook for you, but circumstances dictate otherwise. I'm going to do an old classic. This was actually the very first recipe that I did when I first got into the show. That was almost 11 years ago. And that was the walleye dish with the potato, spinach, bacon, and sour cream. The only twist this time, I'm going to add something else to it, a little secret last minute ingredient, and we're going to use pike. And I'm going to show you a different way how I cook a pike with the bones in them. All the Y bones are still there. There's a way of cutting it and then cooking it, and you could separate that before eating that. It's just another take on it. You can debone it, but I'm going to show you how I do it cooked whole. Alright, so let's get to it. Okay folks, so I've got a pike fillet, and it's been skinned, and I've basically made a few cuts already just to show you where the cuts are going to be. So the Y bones are still in there. We know that the tail section doesn't have any bones, and I felt it right where the Y bones start, and there are no bones. So always check with a pike. So we're going to cut that. And I'm going to check again, and there's no bones there, so I will take that piece, put that on my plate. Now I've got my all my Y bones. I could feel them right here. So what I've done is right where the Y bones are, I make a cut right along, and not all the way down, maybe like 1/8 of an inch down, okay, on a slight angle. You could take this piece off. But I just want to show you for my purpose that you can cook this without taking the Y bone out. Now then you'll see a very subtle line right down the middle here. Okay, so use that as a guide. So about 1/8 of an inch above it, I made another cut, again on a slight angle, just like that. And I'm checking to see where the bones stop. And there are no bones anywhere. Again, we could take this center piece out, but some people are nervous about it. It's all a matter of confidence and practice. But again, I'm not going to do it, because this what's going to happen when we cook this. That's going to open up, and it's going to be clear as day that this will remain, and you can just separate that from the bones with great ease. Okay, so we're just going to cut the fillet in half. You can even hear going through the Y bone. And the most important thing when you're cooking this is you have to put the cut side down first in the frying pan. I've tried both ways, where I put on this side first. It works much better when you put on the cut side first, to put that down. Alright, so those are your pieces, and let's get ready for the rest of the recipe. Alright, so let's season the fish. Remember, there are for every step we need to make sure everything tastes good, because you want every component of the dish to bring something to it. So flavor for everything. You don't want to compensate for the other. So we're just going to salt it on both sides. We're actually salt and pepper it. You know me, I always use Montreal steak spice. I happen to run out of it, so the next best thing is just salt, pepper, and garlic, because those are the key ingredients in Montreal steak spice. So we've salted and peppered it on both sides, like that. And I've got a little bit of garlic, granulated garlic powder. And I'll throw that on there, like that. Okay. Now we're just going to add a little paprika, just to give it a nice little bit of color. Like that, and that's your fish seasoned, ready to go. Next, I'm going to dredge it or coat it in a flour, cornmeal, and breadcrumb mixture. So we're going to mix that up. So we're going to season that too. We're going to put a little more black pepper in there, and a little bit of garlic, and a little bit of salt. If you want to use straight flour, that's fine. It's not that important that the fillets be really nice and crispy, because this is a casserole item. Everything is going to be prepared in one pan, and some of the breadcrumb mixture or the nice crunchy coating is just going to melt off. It's going to actually help thicken it a little bit to hold it together. It's almost like a glue. So we've got our flour, breadcrumbs, and cornmeal mixture. So now we're just going to coat it. I would coat the cut side a little bit less, so just a quick one, and then the other side a little bit more. Now this cooking technique, I would not recommend it for battered fish, because then you can't see where the cuts are. This is your tail piece. There are no Y bones in here. And this is your other piece. We'll do it quick. And we're just going to focus on the back side of it. And there, that's your fish all ready to go. So just to show you what's going to happen next. Once the fish is cooked, we're going to add our potatoes, and we're going to add some spinach, and we're going to cook that a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of milk. That's going to help bind it and moisten it a little bit. And we're going to finish it off with some bacon, some cheddar cheese, some green onions, and some sour cream. And then there's one last little item that's going to go into the dish, and that's just going to be a tiny little surprise. Basically to show you that there are no rules for this. You do what you want and how you want it, and you add any kind of fish, add any ingredients to it. You can add a piece of chicken to it, whatever you want, and any other white fish works well. I used walleye in previous years, the one that Paul Powers used to give. I had to get my own fish this year. So we're going to use about 3 or 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil. We want the oil to get nice and hot because we're frying, but we don't want too much oil because this is going to be all in this pan and all this oil is going to remain. So if we can minimize how much oil we're going to use, we're in a good spot. Alright, so we're just going to wait for the oil to get nice and hot. Let's test it. Well, still going. Normally, at this stage of the demonstration, I would ask for questions, but you can log on to my Facebook page and you can ask questions through that if you like. But this is the recipe from 11 years ago, the all-in-one. Okay, so I'm just going to put the fillets cut side down. So where I made those cuts, that goes first. And this is the tail piece. That's right here. And here's the little surprise. I got a couple of shrimp kicking around. So I'm going to throw some shrimp in there. You don't have to, but I found these lonely guys in the fridge, and I'm going to use them. It just adds another twist. It brings the whole dish to another level. Alright, so now we're just going to give that a nice color. Now what's important for this stage, normally when we use fish that's deboned, we can leave it in the pan. But because we've still got the Y bones in the pike, I have to take the Y bones out. Let me just pop that in there. You see the cuts? Okay, so the fillets are going to cook. It's going to expand, and everything is going to widen up, and we can take those Y bones out. So let's cover it. Let's get a little bit of extra heat going on in there, and get our plate ready for the cooked fish, and our fork or a knife. A fork works best, but we've got everything here that we need. So that's coming along nicely. Let's have a look. Yeah, these are nice pieces. There's a little bit less fish this time than in previous years. This is the same pan I use for the demos, and I don't know how many samples we give out. We must give out 20 samples every year. So I've used less ingredients because I don't have that many to feed in my household. So it's not going to look as full as when I'm at the show. So let's just turn these puppies. Doesn't the shrimp just add another brings this whole thing to another level. You can put scallops in there if you want, pieces of lobster, whatever, anything you like. Just make it yours. And then you remember, we have our potatoes, and we have our spinach. You can replace the spinach with broccoli. You can leave out the green onions. You can put asparagus. You can change your cheese. It's entirely up to you. So let's have a look, see how the fillets are doing. These are a good size. Let's just flip these over. That's good. Okay, so you can clearly see where the cuts are. So that here is your Y bone. All you do is separate that, and then you can munch on this if you want and pull out whatever cooked pieces of fish there are. You can try to break it apart and use it for fish cakes, whatever you want to do. But I just showed you how I do it as an alternate way. So if you're not confident, just make the cuts. You don't have to go too far down, and those cuts will be your guide. Alright, so, and then most of the time I don't want to overcook the fish because it's going to cook a little bit longer in the frying pan with the other ingredients. So how do I know it's ready? If it's starting to flake, but look how nice and white Pike is. Pike is beautiful and white. It's a really good eater. Takes pressure off the walleye. And sometimes when we target a fish, we don't always get it. So sometimes a pike could be collateral damage, so to speak. And why throw it back? You can make a beautiful dish with that here. So I'm going to take the shrimps out. Like that. And I think I'm just going to add a tiny bit more oil because these pieces of fish, this pike has some shoulders on it. Going to cover that, and that will come out in a second. And, okay, so let me check this piece again. This is so firm. This is perfectly cooked already. And then the shrimp are done. Okay, I think we can take the pike off, and I'll give you a close-up of how I do the, how I take the Y bone out. So let's just turn this way down. Okay, that's almost cooked. Alright, so look. See how that comes apart? That piece came off. And you can see the Y bones. Take this piece off. And you can see the Y bones right here. Okay, so we can go through that after. So this is bone free. Same thing here, look, comes right off. Just peel it right back. There we go. And we're going to pick through that because it got crusty, it got a little bit hard there. We're going to pick through that. But the basics of what I want to show you, you can see the Y bones right there. You could pull them out. And that's boneless. Okay, and we're going to break it apart. Okay, so double check for bones. There's no bones here, no bones there. Break it apart. Because we're going to make bite-sized pieces. Just like that. No bones. It's all boneless. And then this piece, you can go through it. Just like that. There's bones. Boneless. No bones there. Okay, and this is the Y bone. You can see the bones there. And we're just gonna peel away. See the bones? Okay, you're better off going through that when you have the time. We're on a time constraint here. Okay, that's all edible. Again, this is just another way of doing it. Okay, now we're gonna add some potatoes to that. Just like that. So if you don't have much fish, you could stretch it with the potatoes. Some spinach, just like that. Let's raise that a bit. Go through that. There's more fish. That you go through, but there's lots of good food there. Okay, now we're gonna add our bacon to that. A little bit of bacon. A little bit more spinach. We got some milk, about a cup of milk. This will just bind it together a little bit. Then we have a little fresh garlic. We'll give it a little bit of a extra taste because I love the flavor of garlic. And I'm just going to bring that to a boil. Because you want the milk sort of to come together. I'm going to munch on that. Okay, raise the temperature. Okay, and now we're going to add some of the green onion. See, it's come to a boil. Now you just want to sort of blend everything in. So you got all food groups here. You got your protein, you got your vegetable, and you got your dairy, and your starch. And we're going to season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. A little bit of salt and pepper there. A little bit of salt. Okay. And now we're going to put a little bit more green onion. We're going to put our shrimp on there. Probably could have got a few more. And we're going to put our cheese. Just like that. We're going to cover it and sort of get it all together. And that's pretty well, we're almost done. That's pretty well it. We're just going to wait for a nice poof, as I always say at the show, to make sure that everything is nice and hot. And we're going to finish it off with some bacon on top. A little more green onion. And we're going to finish it off with some few dabs of sour cream. Just like that. And for our final touch, a little bit of paprika. Give it a few seconds. And there you have it, folks. That is my old recipe, which was called walleye with sour cream, bacon, and potato and spinach. It is now called pike with potato, bacon, and spinach, and topped with some shrimp. Alright, that's all there is, folks. And this is your dish. Okay, folks, that's the dish. Normally you would get the chance to taste it, but you have to take my word for it. I'll tell you how that tasted on an email or whatever. Anyways, it was very unfortunate that you could not be here in person to taste it. But again, these are unique circumstances. First of all, or finally, I'd like to thank the first responders for helping us get through this difficult time. Hope things get back to normal for next year, and I will see you live next year. Enjoy. Take care.